What's up guys, my name is Ace, and normally I really hate making these kinds of videos because a lot of people will see it as coming off complaining and everything, and you still might see it that way. But I'm always really hesitant to do this, but in this case I really feel it needs to be said. The strobe light for the S12 shotgun needs a nerf, at least on the console build of the game for Black Ops 4. Now initially I thought there's got to be a counter out there, and I actually started making a video for that series that I'm doing where I'm finding different ways to counter various items that people get annoyed by. So I've already done how to counter Ajax's shield, as well as how to counter Nomad's dog. I was going to do the exact same thing for the strobe light, and I was sure that I was going to find some really effective counter to this, and everything was going to be good, because I've started running into these more and more, and it's very, very annoying. Anybody that's played against this will understand just how annoying it can be, especially if you play on console. It's a little bit different on PC, and I'll tell you guys why in a little bit. But as I was going through the testing, I tested literally every single one of the perks. I tested everything you can possibly think of to counter this strobe light, and nothing has any effect on it whatsoever. I really thought something like Tac Mask would make it so it significantly reduced the brightness of that strobe light or something like that, and it turns out nothing counters this at all. Nothing even helps against this. Now, for those of you guys that have been lucky enough to not run into this in-game, this is what it looks like when someone comes at you with the S12's operator mod, which is the strobe light. This is what you see on the other end of it. And keep in mind, this is often in the middle of a fight when you're dealing with multiple enemies, or you're just in a situation where things are a little bit hectic. So they're not typically just going to be standing there strobing you or just strafing side by side and strobing you. They are also shooting you, and so are their teammates. It pretty much completely blinds you, and it's very difficult to track that target on console, because I did a little bit more testing on this, and it turns out it completely disables your aim assist when somebody is aiming at you with a strobe light. This is why I said specifically on console I feel this needs a nerf. On PC, it's probably not quite as bad because PC players have a much wider range of motion with the mouse. The mouse is a superior aiming input method, and therefore they don't need aim assist to be able to track that. With console, we do rely on aim assist to a certain extent because our range of motion is significantly smaller. And when somebody uses that strobe against you, your aim assist just turns off. It doesn't work while someone's aiming it at you. In addition to that, if we have a look at the range that the strobe light works, it's 12.5 meters, which is quite a good distance. It's not like it's just in those point-blank shotgun ranges. 12.5 meters is far enough that it does affect your mid-range fights as well. So another potential counter I was thinking I was going to add in that video where I was going to talk about how to counter it is simply keep your distance, stay away from the shotgun. But on these maps, staying more than 12.5 meters away at all times is just not realistic. So at this point, in its current state, my experience has been when somebody has a strobe light in the lobby, if they're a half decent player and they at least have some map awareness so they know where you're going to be coming from or have a pretty good indication of where enemies are coming from, if you end up 12.5 meters from them, you're basically dead. You can try and spray in the general direction, you can try and hip fire spray in the general direction, and I've gotten lucky once or twice, but 9 times out of 10, if I end up within 12.5 meters of a person with a strobe light and they're looking in my direction, it's over for me. I've got no real counter to that. I'm just dead. And I feel like this is a pretty big problem, and it will become a bigger problem once this becomes more widespread. Once more people find out about this strobe light and they actually take the time to level up the S12 shotgun, even just running into one person at a lobby using this is extremely frustrating. I can only imagine what will happen if you get several people on the other team using this strobe light. At that point, you might as well just leave the game, because that sounds horribly frustrating. So personally, I really think some changes need to be made to this strobe light before it gets too far out of hand. A couple suggestions that I have and that I've heard as well is, first up, perhaps have a cooldown on it. So you can't just hold down the strobe light 100% of the time. Make it so you can only do it in short bursts. So you have to actually plan when you're going to use that strobe light, and you don't have access to it 100% of the time while you're using that operator mod. Another option is definitely lower that distance that the strobe light works on you. Instead of 12.5 meters, make it so it's actual like normal shotgun ranges. Drop it down to like 6 meters or 8 meters or something. That would be a little bit more reasonable at least. And finally, perhaps reduce the brightness a little bit, because it is extremely blinding. It actually can hurt your eyes a little bit. After I play a game against somebody with a strobe light, I'm rubbing my eyes like crazy, because it actually is really, really irritating to the eyes when you run into somebody with a strobe light consistently throughout a game. I think they need to reduce the effectiveness just a little bit. Now, the final suggestion that I have is simply have a counter for it, an effective counter for the strobe light. For instance, tac mask. If you put tac mask on, make it so it significantly reduces the effectiveness, make it so it doesn't disable your aim assist, and I think that would be fine as well. That way, if you do run into one of those lobbies where somebody's using a strobe light, then you at least have some method of countering them throughout the game, even if that means that you have to switch to a class that you weren't planning on using at the beginning. Now, I'm not saying that they need to absolutely nerf it into uselessness. It is an operator mod. It does take 3 of your pick 10 points up, so it should be helping you in a gunfight. It should be useful, and it is a fun sort of attachment to be putting on. I think in its current state, though, at least on console, it's just far too effective. Of course, though, I'd like to know what you guys are thinking about it in the comment section below. For anybody that's run into an enemy using a strobe light, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think it is fine in its current state? Or do you agree with me? Do you feel it really does need some sort of a nerf? I'm especially interested in hearing from some PC players. What has your guys' experience been with this strobe shotgun in Black Ops 4? Is it really not that much of a problem for you over on PC, or do you still find it really annoying like we do? If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.
Yeah.